Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm at the Orange County Convention Center in Orlando, Florida for ICAST, and I have a very special guest with me. This is kind of the beginning of ICAST. Literally, I think both of us just got here this afternoon. We were going to try to meet up yesterday, but I had a little snafu with my flight and things got a little bit delayed, and that's on me. But BeBe Harrison, thank you for being flexible, and thank you for meeting me with me this afternoon.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
So I want to have you on the show because, you know, we met at the Bassmaster Classic a couple years ago. I don't think we met before then. I think that was the first time we actually met when we had a little dinner get together there for some women that were there at the Classic. And, you know, kind of got to know you and some of the things you do, and you do a lot of things.
I do. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. Yeah.
So we want to talk about some of the cool things that you're involved with. But how did you get started in this whole crazy fishing world?
Well, I was born into it. No, I grew up on the coast in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm the youngest of three girls. I was the last try for a boy, and, but we all fished, so he was happy. Now I have three boys, but,
Made up for it.
That's right. And it's just been in my blood from an early age, and I didn't really think of it as being a career for a long time until I started going to a Department of Natural Resources sponsored camp. And then I said, you know, I think I might want to work for a magazine, for the South Carolina Wildlife Magazine or something like that. And then I kept going to that camp, and I said, nope, I'm going to get out in it. So I ended up pursuing, aquatic education and marine education after that.
So you actually went to school for all that stuff?
I sure did.
Okay.
I sure did.
Very cool. Well, I want to touch on, we were just kind of chatting before we started the podcast here, just about some of the really cool things you're involved with. You're here at ICAST, so what brings you here to ICAST this year?
So my main reason for being here is to help represent the Angler Action Foundation and the My Fish Count app. It is really a neat application for folks in the South Atlantic, so North Carolina, Virginia border down to the Keys. It's an app that folks can log their catches in anywhere in the state, freshwater and saltwater, keep track of it, use it to learn to, like, it'll put a date stamp and a time stamp and a weather stamp and everything on your catches. You keep it confidential for you. It's not one that shares your information. It's not meant to be competitive or anything, but it's for you to learn your fishing patterns and things like that. But also, it does make it accessible to fishery biologists and fishery managers. So there is information that is shared with in the fishery community for science, but not necessarily shared with other folks to get your spot.
Gotcha. So how does that information, sharing that information, help scientists having that data?
So part of the reason it was started early on was for red snapper. Red snapper was a species that we didn't have a lot of information on catches that were real time. When they make the regulations for red snapper, it's based on stock assessment data, and stock assessments aren't done very often. So giving the recreational angler a voice so that they could say, look what we're seeing. We see more red snapper than that survey indicates. So it's really giving those anglers a voice to say what they're really seeing, what's out there. And a lot of times, you know, specifically in St. Petersburg, I remember hearing certain anglers were catching things way up the river and folks didn't really believe them. but this will give them that opportunity. They ended up getting some biologists to go out on the boat with them and then showed them that, yes, in fact, whatever that species was, I can't recall what it was at the time, but they were catching them in the river. So it really gives the recreational anglers a voice in the fisheries community and fishery management community.
So somebody listening hadn't heard of the My Fish Count app. Do they just go to the App Store and download it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can download that for free. And if you're outside of that range, so if you're not in one of the 4 South Atlantic states, you can use iAngler, and it's our sister app, I guess, and it's open to the whole United States. Okay. So either way, you'll get involved in the system. My Fish Count was developed with recreational anglers and with scientists and biologists, so it's designed specifically to catch that data and target it. You can use My Fish Count if you're outside of the states, and then just put other for your location. But iAngler is very similar if you prefer.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember it was probably several years ago now, my first time down to St. George Island, and I took a guide out, and it just so happened to be in the very small window where we were allowed to keep red snapper. But he was very upset about that, because, right. I mean, we were catching red snapper like crazy. Right. And so he's like, I don't understand why it's so regulated.
Exactly. And so having this data and having this information is really helping. And for example, several years ago, there was very bad weather on the time frame where you could fish for red snapper and keep one. And so we were able to provide My Fish Count data showing that these people had abandoned trips all along the South Atlantic, to the point where we showed that data to the fishery managers and to the council and to NOAA, and they actually added another weekend on because they could see that people weren't fishing for it. They couldn't because the weather was bad. Now, a lot of times people will now are like, oh, there's bad weather, we can't go. Maybe they'll give us more days, but it has to show, it has to, they check right. to make sure. But it does provide a lot of real-time data that is going to be a significant help in that world. So, and it's not just for red snapper. So it's for other species. Like right now, flounder are low in numbers in South Carolina and North Carolina especially. And so we can look and see what kind of flounder data have been entered into that. So it'll provide a lot of good information for biologists, and it provides great information for you because you can keep track of what the tide was. It a falling tide? Was what was the moon phase? Or right. It's good. It's just good to log anyway.
Yeah, so it's a win-win for everybody. So ICAST with this, what are you doing? Do you have a booth here? Are you just meeting with different, wildlife resources agencies, or what's kind of your objective?
So we're just meeting with, businesses to really kind of get them up to speed on it. We've had programs in the past, where we have had a sponsor monthly and a My Fish Count monthly motivation, where they could participate and win a prize from a different company. And we just saw the Plano guy walk by. And so he, Plano donated one of their guide series bags, which was amazing. Has the cool magnetic strip across the top. I love that. But working with them a lot of the companies really want to show their support for conservation, and this is a good way to do it. So meeting with them, meeting with some other tech folks, and we're always just trying to tweak it, make it better. We added a cool weather feature to it where it's got radar. So meeting with some folks to just enhance it and make it more user friendly. And so yeah, we have full schedule.
Yeah. I'm sure you do, as everyone does. So I'm happy that you're able to, we were able to get a few minutes, because I knew that was going to happen this week. And that's why I was hoping we could get the interview done yesterday before everything got super crazy. But glad we're doing it now. So you also have a lot of other things going on I at least want to touch on, so to get the word out for people. But you're involved in Angling Women. So tell listeners a little bit what that is about.
Okay. So Angling Women is my company that I started, because I just needed a way for folks to learn the basics of fishing. There have been a lot of new folks and a lot of new programs come around lately, but it was a need. I saw the need, and I definitely wanted to make sure I filled that need. Several years ago, I worked for a state agency and ran a Becoming an Outdoors Woman program. And when I left the agency, that program was canceled. Mm-hmm. And so I knew there was a need for that. Mm-hmm. So that's when I launched Angling Women. So I do basic classes. I do ladies' nights. I do summer camps, weekends on the water, but I really base most of my stuff from the bank. So I try to introduce women to fishing. Very, very easy to get started. Nothing intimidating. Everybody has somebody that can take them fishing, but almost everybody, but not everybody has somebody who can teach them just how to get started, just enough so that they feel comfortable showing their next door neighbor or showing their child or whatever. And that's what I like to do, is give them enough knowledge that they feel confident and comfortable to go and try it on their own. Mm-hmm. So we do that. I have a camp next week. It'll be our second. We run a lot of camps through rec departments and things like that. And it's a great time. We do a lure design competition, and if you get on Angling Women's Facebook page, we always have the public vote on those lures, and the kids come out with some really cool designs.
So it's kids are involved too then?
Yes, it's really Angling Women because it's run by women. Okay. My sister Susan and I run the programs, and my sister Meg helps when she's in town, but she's here in Florida. But we do programs mostly for women, for children, and then we do family. We do a lot of family programs, and that's how we get the men involved. So we don't exclude anyone. Right.
Gotcha. Well, very cool. So is it a day camp, or do you do like a weekend, or?
So I do day camps through the rec departments. I do work with the Department of Natural Resources summer overnight camp, but that's usually just a week out of the summer. And this year we did a new thing with them. We did fly fishing, and it went so well. It was great. We had a lot of campers leave and say, "Oh, I am buying a fly rod." So it was good.
Awesome. So, and then you also are an ambassador with Artemis Sportswomen, which is kind of the next level, as I understand it, what you were kind of describing earlier from Angling Women. Talk a little bit about that.
Correct. So once you have this newfound knowledge on how to rig your rod and go fishing, then who do you go with? And so that's where it comes in with Artemis. So Artemis Sportswomen is a National Wildlife Federation program, and it started out west, but they have spread, and there's a southeast coordinator for that as well. There are two ambassadors in South Carolina. Now, the sportswomen part is hunting and fishing. So a lot of folks, if they do one, are more inclined to try the other. So I fish, and I have hunted before. I've not shot anything yet, but I'm willing to go again and try. And then my counterpart, Morgan, is diehard hunting, and she said, "I can't catch a fish if you throw it at me." So both of us are very interested in outdoors and advocacy, but and connecting those women, giving them a place to go, because especially like hunting, a lot of women don't necessarily want to go to a hunt camp with a bunch of guys, and just feel uncomfortable. So this gives folks a chance to connect after they have the knowledge. I mean, you could have been fishing for a year, you could have been fishing for 25 years, but we're just a way to connect with each other. And we've got our first weekend on the water in about a month.
Okay.
On Lake Murray.
Cool. Very cool. So that's Artemis Sportswomen, and then that's not all, folks. I don't know how I'm like getting stressed out thinking about all these things that you're doing, but you're also the Director of Education for South Carolina Wildlife.
Yes.
What's that entail?
So that is a new role for me. It's for the South Carolina Wildlife Federation, and it's an affiliate of National Wildlife Federation. But so I have a lot of things on my plate with that, from master naturalist to Project Wild for teachers, things like that. We have a program that we're starting in a college setting called Academics Afield, which will introduce students to hunting, take them out hunting, and then one of my favorites is the Women's Outdoor Retreat. So it's kind of along the lines of Angling Women, but it's a chance for women to come together for the weekend, and they can pick 8 different classes. So they get a taste of a bunch of different things. So there's skeet shooting and archery and fishing and care and prep of fish. And then there's, we're hoping to add nature photography, coastal crafts, birding, knot tying. I mean, it's one of those things. You've got a lot of choices. Paddleboard, kayak, canoes. So you get an opportunity to try stuff, and then again, once you get a little bit of knowledge about it, then you can hang out with us at Artemis.
And there you go. It all ties in together, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So very cool. Well, I feel like you've designed your life around your passion, which is, that's important. It's something I've learned over the years. You definitely, want to be passionate about what you do. And when you do, sometimes it doesn't feel like work, which is nice. So,
exactly. You don't work a day if you love what you're doing, right?
Exactly. So, well, have a great time at ICAST. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other throughout the week. So glad that we were able to share a little bit about what you do and hopefully inspire others. I mean, look at all the things she's doing.
We welcome everybody. If anybody has any questions, just pop them to me.
All right. Well, we'll put links to all the things in the show notes. So whatever anybody's interested in, they'll be able to just go there, click the link, check it out. And thanks again so much.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great to see you. Look forward to spending the week with you.